through things, and FEMA's changed some things with the flood zone ordinances, or not ordinances, but requirements, which I'm trying to keep up with the training. They redid the elevation certificates, which is the key thing that everybody that lives in a flood zone, that's their main document for any kind of building or expansion. So FEMA finally got that updated. It'll make things a little bit simpler for people wanting to build and for people in my position that have to do all the math and all that stuff. So other than that, again, we're still busy. Usually starts to taper off a little bit, but it hasn't. It's actually getting busier. So that's good. That's what we want. And then that's all I have for that part until we get to Cindy.
Cindy, your report. Looks like you handed us a lot of paperwork.
Yeah, I've been busy, so which is good. I think last time I told you I would have a proposed amendments to the wind, so I'll start with that. And I went ahead and, I don't know, the wind and alternative energy ordinance that was passed in 2009. I gave you another copy of it too. It's probably in your book somewhere, but sometimes it's hard to find because I had a hard time finding it too. So I included that so you'd know what the current language is. Then I've proposed some amendments to it. The first thing is really not an amendment, but the category of the ordinance is wind and alternative energy ordinance. So in order to put the solar in it, I'm using the wind energy. It's going to be 24-1 section. Then I've made adjustments. A lot of the adjustments came from changes that the state legislature made in 2022. Which changed some of the first ones were the minimum setbacks. We had it at 1.1 times the total height, and changing that to 1.2 times in all categories. That's for setbacks. In other words, they've got to stay at least 1.2 times the total height of the tower where the blade is at its highest tip. So it's got to be at least that far back from property lines and basically in road right-of-ways. And I changed, so it shows on which page the change is and what section the change is to. On page 5, I added some new language. Under lighting, one of the new things that came through the legislature was light mitigation. So I've just used the language that the state had provided to require they make sure that each of the units are equipped with wind turbine light mitigation technology so that it doesn't bother planes and things like that are flying over. Also, there was a change to the noise and vibration. That changed from no more than 50 decibels instead of 60. That's measured from the nearest residence, so that means that the sound's got to stay lower than the 50 decibels. On page 5 still, G6 on signage. That one just didn't read right to me, so I just changed some of the just cut some of the language out there, just saying that those projects will have to comply with the sign standards, which are the same as what we already have. The biggest things I did is I added a section in with regarding drainage infrastructure. So it says now that all damages to waterways, drainage ditches, field tiles, or other maintenance or other drainage-related infrastructure caused by the construction, installation, or maintenance must be completely repaired by the project owner or remedied with the installation of new draining. that's something that we really didn't have in our ordinance, so we've added that in. And then the decommissioning plan that was in the original ordinance was very minimal, so I really upped that. So it gives specifics into how much, what percentage of the total cost of the estimated decommissioning costs have to be given to the county up front at the 5th anniversary, at the 10th anniversary, and then up to 50%. That's by
Is that 50% by the 15th?
by the 15th anniversary, right? And 100% by the 20th.
Knowing what we know now and the wind farms that are in Benton County, it hasn't been 15 years and they're already decommissioning some of
those, yeah.
So is ours strong enough? Is that wording even strong enough for that?
I mean, that's something we can consider. Like I said, this is just proposed language, so we can think about that. This is the language that the state had put out.
So this is,
Are they being decommissioned by the property, by the owners of them? Okay, so it's not stuff that they're just abandoning or anything.
right.
Okay.
But at some point, if a device becomes nil and void
Mhm.
at 50%, and all they have to do is come up with 50%, we're not penalizing them for the rest
Mhm.
of it, right?
Yeah, I suppose they could.
I agree with you, it should be up to self-walk and leave that rest.
Because 15 years isn't that long.
Uh-huh.
And we're seeing that already in Benton County.
Okay.
I'm just knowing what I see.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
These setbacks is for solar panels and.
Yeah, the solar's totally different.
We're on wind.
This is just on wind.
We'll do solar in a minute.
Yeah.
What are you proposing for instead of the 15?
What percentages would you, recommend at each anniversary?
I'd start at 50. That'd be hard to afford, but I mean, all these power companies will walk and just leave it.
I kind of think you're right. Yeah, at 5 years, maybe.
50 to 5 years. Sorry to be a pain. So you're telling me this is for windows, at the very
Yeah.
beginning says proposed new solar ordinance.
You're on the wrong one, there's two of them.
Keep reading them like I'm kidding, get away.
No, Kevin.
Did he pass the driver's test?
Wind and alternative energy. Those are the changes. This one is your.
You have the
this is
original in your
summary.
hands,
Yeah,
and
the
there should be
original
a
in the-
change,
yeah.
and then, yeah, right there.
Okay.
This is the original, Kevin.
Okay.
And then this is the other changes.
So you got 5 at 50, or 50 at 5.
So that would be, it's on the second page.
On page 6.
Yeah, in the middle of the second page it
Sorry,
starts.
you're on page 6 of the decommissioning.
So,
Robin, she gonna tell me?
10th anniversary,
So it's, originally we were saying 25 at, what was that, 15?
25 at 50.
25% at the, no later than the start date.
Okay,
That's,
The
to
start
start
date.
it out, they gotta give at least 25%
okay.
of the value.
50, and then at the 10th anniversary, be 100% full.
Because we're
Instead of
seeing,
decommissioning.
we're seeing them decommission in less than 15 years already, so.
They're gonna leave it on the county.
so do you like the 25% at start?
I'd say 50% and then,
Let's start.
Well, you got 50 at 5.
Yeah. I'd say leave the 25% at start and then 50 at 5 and 10 year we get
100%.
100%. I don't think we should wait 15 because they're gonna start failing before that.
Yeah, 100% doesn't come in until 20 years on this, so,
well, I would agree, it'd be 10 years.
at 10 years?
Yeah.
So you wanna start at 50?
No.
No, start at 25.
25.
Start at 25.
25, 50 at 5, and then 100 at 10.
So for this, once we figure out, get everything wiggled out tonight, we'll have to advertise it. and then have a public hearing before, then it goes to the commissioner. So we got a few more steps, but they are here. They're in the county. So this is good that we're sorting it out.
So the whole third page has to have all the numbers written down on it also.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that whole
Yeah.
section would.
Well,
It'll
it's
reflect
going
the
to
25, 5,
compress
and 10.
actually the whole section, because I won't need the 15th and the 20th, because you're
You're doing
capping
that.
it out at
Right.
10, right? Okay. Okay. All right.
The only other thing that I was, when you put the drainage and stuff in there, and I was gonna ask, is it just the cost of the replacement of materials, or they're gonna have to pay for the installations too, because that could be pretty substantial.
The project owner has to do the repairs.
Yeah, see, because White County, the one of the contractors I use, he's on a maintenance contract with the ones over in White County. And
Okay.
he's always going over to do, they pay for the whole thing. I mean, he has to sign a contract with them every
If they're paying for
year.
materials, the county has to, that would
Yeah,
be.
they pay for everything, material, repair and everything.
Okay.
Does that includes roads and everything else?
No.
No, that'll be done
This-
by
well,
the
that'd be the
highway. That'll be a
This is
highway
drainage.
department.
I mean, they've done,
It does say-
when they go in there, they start breaking them roads up, put pipes in the open ditch, and then when they get done, they gotta take them all out, reseed them and get them back to normal. And I mean, tile holes, they don't know where a lot of the old tile are, and 5, 6 years down the road, they'll start popping up. And so, that's, I mean, they have a couple of guys on contract all the time, just whenever there's a sinkhole develops, the farmer calls that company and they come out and fix it. So,
Should we put a parameter on reasonable period of time? 'Cause it says be completed within a reasonable period of time. My reasonable period of time can be different from someone
I agree.
is that on the drainage too?
On all-
Where are you at, Gordon, on which,
That'd be there,
Page-
under drainage infrastructure on the second page.
page what?
Instead of a.
Page 6.
Instead of a reasonable period.
I don't know, what do you think, Donnie? On the serious drainage project, take
I mean,
a year?
do what?
A year? Do it, I mean, putting in all the planning and prep and.
I mean, if they're just doing repairs on this stuff that's developed, I mean, I would say 6 months. Because if there's a field in there, just since I'm tearing up a bunch of crop to get out to one little sinkhole that they found, that they'd done damage to crossing originally when they had to.
So it would be done seasonally then?
Yeah, as long as they get, within 6 months, I mean, that's more than
That should be,
enough for
you should be able to
planting
work it
season.
in, and yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
I-
just-
That probably is language that's included in the lease agreement with the property owner
And that
too.
might be, too.
I would guess.
You said probably.
I don't know, I've never seen
I'm
that.
with him, I want to defend him.
I'd say we'd probably put at least a year, that gives them a
Yeah.
whole season
Yeah.
to get it done.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'll probably leave the language in of, to the satisfaction of the unit and as stated in any applicable lease or agreement with the landowner. Because, I mean, they have the right to do,
They're above and beyond.
yeah. But that would be a minimum. Okay. Okay. Good, good. Any other questions about the solar, I mean, the wind? Sorry, you got me going now, bud. Okay. We'll go to the solar. I had just planned to give kind of an outline, but
I know where the solar is.
we saw an advertisement in the paper on Wednesday, and looks like it's almost here. So, anyway, so we're going with this. So this is kind of a combination with some of the new state guidelines, and Jasper County, and White County, and any other place I could pull information from. So I know you've not had much time to really look through this, so, and there's a lot to it.
So can we elaborate on the setbacks?
Sure.
So local road, you're talking about, is it you're describing a county road?
Yes.
So you're gonna come up to an intersection, you're gonna tell me a solar panel can be 10 feet from the edge of
You tell me. I'm just going about what the state's guidelines are right now. We can make them
I'm just saying,
different.
think about that.
Okay.
It needs to be back.
It needs to be back further.
That's why we're
Yep.
in front of it right now. So
That's right.
This is all state,
Are we
basically it's a
talking-
template, so change, that's why we're
Well,
discussing it.
are we talking from the edge of the road, or are we talking from the right of way?
Property line, it doesn't go to the edge of the road, it goes from.
Nearest edge of the
setbacks
right
to
of way.
setbacks,
It's the nearest edge of the
yeah.
right
Which
of
the
way.
right of way is gonna be,
25, yeah.
it's,
33 or
33 or
yeah,
more.
Well, center of the road usually like 16 foot to the edge of the right of way.
not all of them go to the center. of the road.
Yeah, some are a little bit wider, some more narrower.
So for an interstate, it'd be 16 plus 40, but for a local road, it'd be the 16 plus 10.
Yeah.
Somewhere around that.
Yeah, it's gonna be about
So you're talking
25
about 25 foot.
Center of the road.
Say make it 30 on both of them.
Yeah, I would agree, it needs to be back to more than 10, for sure. I like the 30.
30 from collector
For
and
collector
local.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make it 40 because they're making solar panels small. They'll start chalking them in there as many as they can.
Okay, I'm on 40.
40.
Make it 40 for both. Sounds like.
40?
Yeah.
So we'll go 40 across the, across.
40,
Make it simple.
The thinking I have, because who I work for, Panasonic, we make solar panels and everything gets smaller and it gets juiced higher. So you got to think for the future, not for now.
Okay, what about from property line of any non-participating property? In other words, it's a property that's next to where it's being built.
Still
but-
being tilled or farmed or, right?
Right, right.
Well, so it should be different next to a field or next to a house, because
Yeah, well, the next one's the house,
Yeah.
for
I'm
an
here to
outer
tell
wall
you.
of a dwelling located
we take care of the
250
the
foot.
solar panels at school, and there is a hum from them. They're not silent,
Mhm.
okay? There is a hum in there, so you do notice it.
Has anybody done an STC rating, which is sound transmission coefficient?
Yeah,
Because if you sit in there humming, and that's going to a building, which would go through a house, which would drive somebody batty
no.
sleepy.
If you work in there for more than a couple hours, yeah, it gets to you.
So it's farther away you can get than residential or commercial.
So on that parcel two, do we want to do 75 feet?
From residential?
No,
For a
I'm from
non-participating
non-participating
property.
Oh.
just a field.
Oh, okay.
And like John said, but they're getting smaller, do we want to do for residential?
From a dwelling, that
From a
would,
dwelling,
yeah.
or-
You've got
yeah.
250 feet for a dwelling, so.
I'm of the opinion 800. Not too much?
It's 3 football fields, right?
It's more than a boat making.
Yeah, they're gonna.
You wouldn't have to.
Capos be away.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, but there's people that don't want that stuff next to them just as much as they don't want CAFOs next to them.
I'd agree with Brad.
I mean, you say there's a hum and it goes through the house, I mean,
What is our parameters for a hog barn?
3/8 of a mile.
it's 800, 900 feet?
900 feet.
Not 900, right? It's 900, right?
800.
800 feet, and then it's a quarter mile for a time limit.
So that I'd say 7%.
well, yeah, well,
But it's by the crow flies. Pick a point. It may not be the property line, but as long as you're that 3/8 of a mile or whatever from the house.
Right.
Oh, seriously.
But even at that point, they have to be notified, so that they have an opportunity to, you know, voice their opinion.
but you're saying a quarter mile from town limit, well, if it's the town putting it in for their energy uses. Kind of like the school put theirs in for their use. It's not much different. Even though there's not a residence within 450 feet of it.
The quarter mile is what is it, 1350?
Say for the ones that are in Army, you're probably only
Well, the little one's there, yeah, the other one's behind the, yeah, that's probably true, 150 feet.
Yeah, roughly.
1350.
I've heard three people agree with the 800 feet, John and Kent, or Jordan. John, Kevin, Doug?
That's from a resident, a dwelling?
Yes.
We're talking about big solar.
Yeah, we're talking the bigger end, they're getting smaller and trying to fit more in.
Big farm, I mean, there's usually several hundred acres.
I just think if we put that in place now, that'll save us a lot of work later. A lot of people come in.
If they can come for variance, right?
I was gonna say, it's gonna go either way. I'm gonna say 9 times out of 10, they're gonna apply for a variance.
That gives us a start. We can
Now,
come down a little bit if we want to at that
the
point.
property owner can waive it too, if they
That's
don't.
what I mean, if they can come to the
Yeah.
meeting and say, we're okay if they want to move a little
Right,
closer or whatever.
right.
But they have to sign off on that then, right? They can't just verbally say, hey, it's okay.
It's gotta be a legal document recorded.
Waived in, it has to be done in writing.
Yes.
Yeah.
When we say residential, we go narrow it down to residential, multifamily, nursing home, and stuff like that.
Just
No.
Residential is residential.
Because this is
Assessment of
only,
residential.
this is only in the ag district or I-1 or I-2. That's the only place they can put them.
Yep.
No, 800 feet then.
What's the first one? Yeah, leave that to the property line?
The federal interstate?
No, just the property line.
No, I thought we bumped that to,
It's all 40.
40.
Well,
well, what's the property line for participating?
Joining property.
So if it's
line,
just
it
an
wasn't-
open field and compared to a dwelling, what do you want it for an adjacent field that's just a tillable ground?
So like if I was farming and I just want to put solar fields in my field.
No, I'm saying the property next to it, the setbacks from that property. Nothing on this property over here, nothing. It's empty, it's tillable land.
So it has to meet all requirements. In other words, if a house is 600 feet from the property line.
I'm saying this property,
You gotta get
this is
200.
Not residential.
Say we got two.
But that doesn't mean in the future it won't be, so that's what you need to consider.
So my point is if he's 600 feet from adjacent property line, he only has to go 50 feet more, or he has to go to the 800 feet from the dwelling onto your property.
You're talking about a non-resident field,
Yeah. fine.
Correct.
if there's nothing there.
Just wide open.
So it's just wide open.
Just two property line, or property line.
You gotta
two
consider
property.
that if that's a wide open field, what happens to wide open fields? What's happening in Harrison High School right now? There's fields that are no longer fields, now there's houses.
So
So,
if there's already a solar field there, they know that going in.
Right.
correct. So it's kind of like CAFOs, there's protection for the CAFO owner, there's protection for the homeowner. So,
I think it should be very similar.
Making 100 foot property line goes out in the open, it gives, could be equipment turning and stuff like that, you know, you're accidentally.
That's the one complaint I have on the one they put in up here, there is not enough room. Literally, you can't get a gator.
So for just a
So-
regular property line, you're saying 100 maybe?
so that's line 2, Tony?
Yes, line,
Yeah.
100 feet.
Okay, all right. Height restriction is no more than 25 feet above the ground level when the unit is in full tilt, so.
There's
I
new
know-
technologies coming out.
Huh?
They're going a little higher so that you can actually get under them.
I know, that was the state, now, the one for Jasper County, they went 35.
Yeah, I would,
How high is a combine set? If one of those was to go and a combine was to, I've seen them, combines
Over
are,
100, you would need,
With the
35
hopper-
feet being
With the
plenty.
hopper up, you're gonna want 17, 18.
yeah, you're
so
gonna,
if you went, yeah, anything above that, you'd have plenty.
yeah.
35
So
better.
I
at
think
full
35,
tilt,
yeah.
35 would probably get it.
Okay, you want to change that to 35 then?
Instead of 25.
Yeah. Okay.
They're actually farming underneath them?
Oh, yeah, they got them up on pillars now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they just put them on single pillars, kind of like windmills, and up in the air.
Yeah, okay, and then the next ground cover requirements, I mean, if they want to do crop or whatever, but at minimum, they have to use the ground cover, that perennial vegetative ground cover.
So
And,
they'll tell you, using stone gains you 10% on a solar panel because it reflects back.
Hmm.
And if it's stone, then it's easier to maintain because you just spray it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's getting into using a crap ton more chemicals, in my opinion, than what the
I
regular
know,
farm
I'm
ground
just throwing
is.
it out there. I mean, you're mandating ground cover, so.
most of them are.
Because most people don't want to spend the money, but it does pay back easily. Buy the stone, it's only got to be 3 inches deep.
Boy, that's a lot of remediation if these things get decommissioned later on.
That would be bad.
Exactly.
Is there any language of using like a CRP program to manage the ground covering?
No, because of the wildlife, you're not going to be able to. They do the CRP for wildlife.
For wildlife and for pollinate, well, yeah.
They won't let you.
I'm just saying,
And
and
these-
these noxious weeds. and
Well, this- yeah,
different
this-
kinds of weeds that are invasive to farm ground and to crops.
Yeah, it says that you have to provide for the planting of non-invasive species and the use of native or naturalized species if the plantings and use of non-invasive species and native or naturalized species are appropriate for the region, economically feasible, and agreed to by the landowner. And in order to reduce stormwater runoff and erosion, and to provide habitat for wildlife and insects.
Which
Well, it's
keyword
hard,
on that
it's gonna
is
be hard to,
native.
it's gonna be hard for them to provide habitat for wildlife if they're fencing it in. I mean, you got range line is completely fenced in, the ones up in Stark County are completely fenced in. That's impacting the migration of wildlife and the ecosystem that's up there. So, I think we
want
need to
them
do, I think we
fenced
need,
in,
I think
though,
we need
don't
to
we?
do something, I think we need to do something to at least protect the environment.
I haven't seen one yet that didn't want it protected where people weren't in and out, causing a litigation issues or something else. So I haven't read an ordinance that didn't have some kind of fencing standards.
I mean, there is high voltage in there, so.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's what they want, that's why they want. It's a litigation issues, protection for them and for, so.
The ones we have here, there's rabbits and there's small animals and birds and.
All right, they're still gonna
Stuff that
live
live there,
there,
but there's no, yeah, you won't find deer or anything in it.
but they don't want,
But if you have 6 foot, yeah, deer's probably not gonna be able to get over 6 foot, are they? Okay.
I don't know if you'd want them in there if they started chewing on your cables.
Yeah, true.
correct, that's why, so a lot of them
Yeah.
are fencing it for a reason.
Okay.
I kind of, well, I would leave the ground cover and not even give that an option for stone.
I would agree 100%.
They-
Yeah.
I wish they would have done ground cover up here. They didn't do anything, just left it as it was, and it's been a nightmare.
Yeah, this says that's what they have to do, so. Yeah, fencing, 6 foot installation. This just tells about where that all cables up to 34 feet and 1/2 kilovolts that are located between inverter locations. A lot of this language, I have no idea what it really means. I just took it from the state. Where it says they have to be maintained underground, transmission lines and those things, junction boxes and other typical above-ground infrastructure may be located and maintained above ground. Buried cables shall be at the depth of at least 36 inches below grade, or if necessary, by on-site conditions at a greater depth. Cables and lines located outside of the project may be located above ground, or in the case of cables or lines of up to 34.5 kilovolts, be buried underneath. It talks about depths there, so.
And
I
that
don't-
48 inches, that's the minimum for fiber as well, so that's
Okay.
why they come up with the 48.
I hope that people realize that we're putting all this in for the East Coast, not a drop of it comes here.
Yeah.
Right.
And on the windmills, it all goes to the west coast.
Let's see all the solar panels out.
Noise limits, cannot exceed an hourly average sound level of 50 A-weighted decibels as modeled at the outer wall of a dwelling located on an adjacent non-participating property. It can only be waived by the consent of the non-participating property.
Which, if we have our setback that far, that should be an issue.
Should not be as
Should not be
big
an
much a
issue,
problem, yeah. Other limits, it has to be designed to minimize glare on adjacent properties and roadways, not interfere with vehicular traffic, including air traffic. It must be installed in a manner as to minimize and mitigate impacts to television signals, microwave signals, agricultural GPS systems, military defense radar, radio reception, or weather and Doppler radar. So, repairs, due to construction, I added some extra stuff in that. They have to repair any damages to waterways, drainage, ditches, field tiles, or other drainage related to infrastructure caused by the construction, installation, or maintenance. Damage to roads, culverts, and bridges caused by the construction, installation, or maintenance must be completely repaired by the project owner to a degree at least equal to the condition of said roads, culverts, and bridges immediately prior to the construction of the project. So that covers not just where they are in, but also the roads that they use.
To a degree at least equal to the condition of said roads. Said roads are not very good.
Well, sometimes we get that,
But if you've seen what they did to some of the other roads.
Well, I know. but,
yeah,
I mean,
I've seen what happened to some of the Clinton County roads.
Clinton County roads, oh my gosh.
Bad,
Yeah.
bad. And with regards to the roads, they'll be required to identify all state highways and local roads that'll be used to transport of equipment and parts. Also prepare a timeline and phasing plan for construction and identify any known road closures. That information would have to be released to local newspapers. Emergency services, law enforcement, public schools, postal service, and regional office of the Department of Transportation. Also, during construction time, they will not be allowed to close roads for more than a period of 10 minutes. Unless they give a special notice to any neighboring or affected property owners at least 24 hours prior to the temporary closures. So, and they have to make all those closures and proposed detours made known to the highway department at least 24 hours in advance.
I don't think 24 hours is enough. I mean, I know, Cameron, you work with the highway, I mean, that's pretty quick turnaround time for people to kind of make adjustments to their commute or whatnot.
They usually, I've never, the 24 hours is the minimum time to